Someone I cared about was going through the worst season of their life. Not a metaphor, not a rough patch. The kind of season where the ground disappears and every morning feels like a decision to keep existing. And I sat across from them in a room that felt too quiet, and the only thing that came out of my mouth was, "I believe God has a plan for this." I meant it. I believed it. And the look on their face told me everything. It was not comfort. It was a door closing. I watched them stop talking, not because they disagreed, because they realized I was not going to sit in the mess with them. I was going to explain it away. That phrase, "God has a plan," shows up at hospital bedsides, in condolence cards, after miscarriages, after job losses, after divorces. It is reflexive, automatic, and almost always delivered with genuine care. The person saying it is not trying to cause harm. They are trying to help. And if you have said it to a friend, a family member, someone at church, you are not a bad person. The intention was real. But there is a gap between intention and impact, and in that gap, real damage happens. The phrase has become reflexive because it solves a problem, not the sufferer's problem, but the speaker's. When someone shares devastating news, the listener is suddenly face to face with pain they cannot fix. And the human nervous system does not handle helplessness well. It searches for something, anything, that closes the loop and makes the interaction manageable. God has a plan closes the loop. It assigns meaning, it provides structure, and it allows the speaker to walk away feeling like they contributed. The sufferer, meanwhile, is still exactly where they were, except now they are also carrying someone else's need for the situation to make sense. The phrase operates like a bandage placed over a fracture. It covers the surface, it resembles care, but it does not touch what is broken underneath. Here is the thing. The phrase is not always wrong. Sometimes, months or years later, a person can look back and see a thread, a direction, something that grew from the wreckage, that is real. But the timing matters. Saying it to someone in the middle of their worst night is not comfort. It is impatience dressed as theology. And the person in pain, already carrying the weight of what happened, now carries an additional weight, the obligation to see a plan, to find the purpose, to not feel what they are feeling because someone with good intentions told them it is already accounted for. She could not be angry because anger contradicted the purpose. She could not grieve fully because grief implied doubt. She could not be honest because honesty would sound like faithlessness. 5 words, spoken with love, silenced every real emotion she had. That is what a woman told me after her child was hospitalized, and every visitor said the same thing. There is a story in the book of Job that rarely gets preached in this context. Job chapter 2, verse 13. Job has lost everything, children, wealth, health. His 3 closest friends travel to see him, and when they arrive, the text says, they sat with him on the ground for 7 days and 7 nights. No one said a word to him because they saw how great his suffering was. 7 days, no theology, no explanation, no plan, just presence. That is the part of Job's friends that the Bible honors. Not the speeches that come later, those fill 30 chapters and are ultimately corrected by God himself. The part that worked was the silence, the willingness to sit on the ground and not fix anything, to look at a man destroyed and resist the urge to make it make sense. Silence is harder than a sentence because it requires tolerating helplessness, sitting with someone in agony, and accepting that there's nothing to say that will fix it. No verse, no framework, no theology that makes it bearable. And most people cannot tolerate that. So they reach for words, not because the sufferer needs them, because the speaker does. When someone offers a theological explanation for suffering too soon, it creates an obligation. The person in pain now has to respond to the framework, either agree and suppress what they actually feel, or disagree and risk being seen as faithless. Either way, the conversation is no longer about their suffering. It is about the framework, and the suffering gets pushed aside, still present, still real, but now carrying the additional burden of needing to fit inside a sentence someone else decided on. So what does a person say instead? Maybe nothing. Maybe the most faithful response to someone in crisis is not a sentence, but a presence. Show up. Sit down. Stay longer than feels comfortable. Say, I do not know why this is happening. I am not going to pretend I do, but I'm here, and I'm not leaving. If words feel necessary, the safest ones are small. I am sorry. This is terrible. I am with you. Not sentences that explain, sentences that accompany. That is harder than 5 words. A reassurance takes 5 seconds. Sitting in the rubble with someone, without explaining it, without justifying it, without theologizing it into a purpose, that takes everything. But it is what Job's friends did before they started talking. And it is the last thing most people try. I still think about that room, the person across from me, the phrase I said because I did not know what else to say, and I wish deeply, specifically, that I had said nothing, that I had just stayed. Not because silence fixes anything, because silence does not pretend to. It does not rearrange the wreckage into a pattern. It just sits there. And sometimes sitting there, truly present, truly quiet, truly willing to not have the answer, is the closest thing to God that a person in agony will experience that day. And that is okay. And next time, something practical. Because knowing what not to say is only half of it. The other half is what to do when someone is breaking and there are no words that help.